Hello, Melissa Crook here with the F.E.E.L podcast. Today on the podcast, we have It's Okay to Sit and Rest with Veronica Williams. The ways to engage with this episode are as follows. When's the last time you sat down and relaxed? No meditating, no reading, no exercises, just sitting and resting. We think of ourselves as, quote, lazy when we do this, but here is a reminder that it's okay and good to be still and enjoy a moment of peace. We hope this gives you some mindful and peaceful, restful ways to engage with this week's episode. It's okay to sit and rest with Veronica Williams. Thanks so much for being with us.
Hello, F.E.E.L podcast audience. Welcome back this week. I have a new friend here with me today that I met through our good friends at Podmatch. They provide so many great resources and so many wonderful relationships. And I've got Veronica Williams here today. And Veronica and I connected, and her husband, Daryl, who's also her partner with her in their very important work that they do that we're going to learn more about today, was so great about staying connected with me as we worked out a time for Veronica and I to get together and record. So I'm excited to have her today. She talk about layers. I mean, I talked to Veronica about this before we, hit record, about the different layers and complexities and nuances to her background, to her history, to her personage, all of those things, and the doors it opens in all these different communities that she's involved in. And you're going to understand what I mean as we get into this today. But Veronica describes herself as nurturing, loyal, thoughtful, compassionate, supportive, and patient. Veronica Williams, welcome to the F.E.E.L podcast.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so glad to have you here. All right, we're going to get right into it. And I'm going to start with prioritizing self-care in your life and what that looks like for you. And this is not only something that you I'm sure have a pattern for and some things that you use in your life, but you also really help other people in a variety of ways with this, whether it's working with veterans' wives, whether it's working with couples on their marriages, or your public speaking. There's a lot of different ways that you probably run into this conversation, but talk to me about your journey with this and taking care of yourself to be the healthiest version that you can be, because you live a life of service. And so I would imagine it's very important for you to keep your cup filled so that you can continue to give and show up in the ways that you want to.
Yes. And it's really all about balancing. And I like how you said, to keep my cup filled, I cannot pour out to others unless I am full, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I look at that and I like that concept about the cup being full, because the more that I take care of myself first, I'm able to take care of others. Mm-hmm. And the more that I give to myself and there's an overflow, and it overflows from that cup, that's the part that the people get.
Yeah.
And I look at my cup and I still got more. Mm-hmm. So I'm not giving a lot of me away. I'm just giving a portion of me away to show up for people in the manner that they need me.
Yeah.
Whether it's for couples that need some guidance, some help, some prayer. They need to navigate, or even if it's women that are broken that need to navigate their personal situation. Women that are veterans, whose spouses are away or whose spouses have just trying to be a village to the people that need help the most.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes, even from a veteran's perspective, you don't normally live near your family.
Yeah.
So being a spouse and it could be male or female, mm-hmm. a spouse of a veteran, a spouse of an active duty military person, you need to use your village, is how I say it. Like, don't be afraid to ask. I think, and for me, I'm such a giver that it is hard for me to ask, you know.
Yeah.
And so what I've had to learn over the years through all my trials and my situations is that I had to make sure that I receive when I'm receiving and people are volunteering to help. I had to learn to say yes and not feel so like embarrassed or shame that I need some help. But coming to grips that you're not perfect. You're not meant to be in the world by yourself, even or just within your circle. So we do have to expand out. And so that's one of the things that I like to share with people is in order, number one, you know, in order when you talk about self-care, if you're not going to be perfect, but if you're not in a place where you have the capacity to share out, you're not going to be good for anyone else. So it's good to do those things that you like. Like for me, I like to go to the spa. I like my time by myself. You know, I could, I just sometimes just like to sit. We're so busy in our day, oftentimes, that we forget that it is okay to have some idle time, just sitting, releasing your brain from all the worry, the thoughts, and that had encompassed in your day. You know, just making sure that you're taken care of. So I try to compartmentalize how I take care of myself. I take care of myself mentally, physically, and emotionally. In the mental capacity, I try to do mindfulness. And even though I can, you know, as a woman of faith, you know, you can read your Bible, you can pray, you can do group settings with friends that understand the God that you serve and the blessings that He pours out on you. But you also need time just to breathe. To get back to getting reset in your breathing, get reset in your mind, you know, because our mind gets so clogged with so much stuff, you know. If you're a mother, a father, you know, if you work, if you're you have children, and no matter what age they are, because what I'm coming to grips with is that no matter how old your children get, when I'm talking to people, they are still having to deal with even handling things for their adult children. So in order for you to do that, you have to make sure that you take care of yourself. So that's what I think about when I talk about self-care, taking care of myself, not in just one area, but emotionally, mentally, physically. And just making sure. So from the physical standpoint, I'm beginning to exercise. I'm a part of a program at my work where it is being intentional to exercise. So I'm making sure that I'm exercising. Emotionally, just making sure that my thought process has released any emotions that have caused me or triggered me throughout the day. That's where, you know, even when you do the mindfulness, it also helps release all of the emotions that that are layered. And has just consumed you. And just knowing how to first of all, sometimes we have to say no. And it's not a negative to say no, but sometimes it might not, that, you know, I like to say it, individuals' emergencies aren't always my emergency.
Exactly. Yes. And being able to delineate the difference between those things.
Yes. And from a spiritual standpoint, you know, and even if you think of it from a non-faith base, but from a spiritual standpoint, oftentimes we hinder what God wants to do in someone's life by coming to their rescue. That is hard for a nurturer. But sometimes we have to step back, take a pause, and say, you know what? I'm I don't want to hinder what God wants to do, because sometimes we inhibit people from growing in that space that God wants them to grow in. We
Yeah.
come in, we swoop them up, and they miss the whole lesson that God is trying to share with them.
Yeah.
And even from a non-faith based situation, family, friends, we come to rescue our loved ones and those that call upon us. But even if you don't believe in God, there is a lesson in everything.
Yeah.
Faith-based, non-faith-based. And oftentimes when we go and we rescue someone,
Yeah.
not that they don't, we have to really think about it. Is that a lesson for them? And should I move now or should I wait? And
Yeah.
is it really a true emergency? Because first of all of our lives has something that's an emergency to us, but not necessarily an emergency to the individual that we call on the most. Because sometimes we can wear out.
Yes, yes, we can. Oh my gosh, isn't that true? Yeah.
So just being able to understand that. And then sometimes recognizing that you may not even have the mental capacity to even go and assist in a situation. And that it might need another person that's an expert in that situation or who has the time. Because when you have family, is this going to take me 30 minutes or my whole day?
Exactly.
Let me think about my quick yes, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to think about it like that.
Yeah. Yes, you do. You've said so many important things. One, I want to hit on the importance of the no, and that will go nicely in a few minutes. We'll come back to that as we talk about confidently setting boundaries. But you also talked about taking care of all of those parts of yourself so that you're giving from an overflow, and so people are getting the good stuff from you, not the leftover stuff, and being mindful of how necessary, stopping to think. A friend of mine who's been on the podcast in the past, and I've referred to this before, she always gives herself 24 hours before she says yes to something. And that gives her time to really assess whether it's something that is the right thing for her to say yes to on a multitude of reasons, because especially when you're a nurturer and helper, you just, of course I can help. And then all of a sudden you're like, what happened to my day? Oh, I didn't really stop for a minute and consider the commitment of time that was going to require. So I'm so glad that you hit on that, and also that you hit on those different parts of us that we need to take care of to make sure we're well, and stopping and thinking about, I'm not at full capacity. There might be somebody else out there that is at full capacity, that's got the bandwidth and energy that this situation requires. And so I just wanted to point out all those things are so good, so powerful.
Yeah. And really, I want to say no is a complete sentence, period.
Yeah.
We tend to want to over explain why. And so it's really an unrealistic expectation for someone to expect an answer why you said no.
Yeah.
Now, that comes from a different place with our children. Why?
Sure.
But, but why did you say no? But that doesn't make sense. Or that's not a good answer. I don't understand why you said no. It seems like this is the right thing for me to do. That's different from helping someone that really needs you.
Right.
But we really, as individuals, need to also learn to compartmentalize and identify, is this really an emergency and something that I can fix on my own?
Yeah.
Or is this something that I really need to pray about it before asking someone to take on my issue?
Yeah, because a lot of times there can be a lot of, if we don't stop to think about that, it can create codependence and enmeshment and emotional dumping in places of taking a healthy look at at what it is you're looking for in this situation. What is your why behind needing to do that? But on the flip side, you mentioned this. We so many times as women, as we're trying to go out there and save the world, we need to stop and realize it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to have input from others and have that support. And within that, releasing control and realizing that they may not do it the exact same way as I do, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just different, and releasing control of that too. But I think that I'm so glad you brought that up, because this is so interesting how this willingness for us to ask for help has come up in several of my conversations over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm like, this seems to be the mantra of 2025 without me officially declaring it, because it's come up several times.
Yeah. And, it's just, first of all, when you want the right person to help. You don't want someone that really already told you no and you beg them and they come.
Yeah.
You want it to be the best person for the task. And even, and it's okay to answer. It's okay to answer someone's call to assist. But you have to make sure that you have the capacity, and that can be the energy.
Yes.
And we have to be honest to let people know, I would love to help you, but I'm really in the midst of my own stuff right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or I would love to help you, but this isn't a good time for me because I'm in the midst of something important on my end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to learn as spouses, and even as family members, as friends, that we don't drop our things and let it shatter.
Yes.
To go help someone else.
Absolutely.
And that's not a bad thing. But it's okay to tell someone, I'm not there right now.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I found just asking, let's just pray about it so you can calm your fears, gather yourself. And that's better. Or just being available on the phone to show a mere sense of presence.
Yeah.
Versus sometimes having to go there and be in the physical.
Yeah.
Because number one, is this something that I have to go and drive to and be there now? Or is this something I can just handle for them over the telephone? Or is this something that I can just assist them and make the difficult call for them? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we think someone calls us, they need some help. We think, drop everything, let's go. But it's breathe, take a moment, and ask more questions.
Yeah.
What is it that you really need right now? What can you do about it? What can you do more about it? Or how, whatever their response is that how would that help you move forward? It may not necessarily mean being there in the physical, but being there as a presence to give them your attention to listen. Yeah. Unfortunately, I could spend an hour on the phone with people and things like that. But recently, after having vocal cord surgery, I only give people 15 minutes. And that's new for me, because before I'll be right there, trying to squeeze the lemon juice all out just to get to them to make sure that they get what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
And I love it. I tell people, and I love being able to have, it's not an excuse, but I have to save my voice. I have to say, okay, first of all, before we get started, and I did this before surgery. I said, before we get started, is this going to be 15 minutes or an hour?
Yeah.
Because I only have 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm about to get in my car. I'm going somewhere that's going to be 15, 20 minutes, but I can't talk to you the whole time because then I got to listen to my directions when I get there.
Yeah.
So just, and that goes back to your setting boundaries. Goes back
that's what I was going to say. You've just beautifully laid out boundaries. That in right there. That's the ticket right there.
what are your limitations? And, am I the only person that can help this person? And most times you are the most loyal person,
Sure.
the most trustworthy person that would come. Because some people have already learned, I'm not going over there right now. I'm just gonna, let them call somebody else this time. Which we want. That's why you think about who you have helping you in the midst of your help, because you don't want someone there that is not there emotionally, mentally, and physically for you. Because that now ignites something up in your situation a whole nother way.
Yes, it does.
Because now they don't want to be there, and they're showing it. They're hooing and howling. Well, you shouldn't have even came. But I should fault myself for even asking when I even noticed the tone on the phone.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, these are all little cues that are really important to pay attention to.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is so important. But it's not that people don't want to help, but we also have to make sure that we're not unrealistic and taking their time away.
Yeah, exactly.
Being upfront, hey, this is good. This is going to be about 20 minutes. This is going to be about 30 minutes. Do you have the time?
Yeah.
If it's going to be more than 30 minutes, no, I don't have the time.
Okay.
But I will give you the time that I have, I will give you what I have. You're still going to show up for them in a compassionate way. Mm-hmm. And even an empathetic way, like, I understand what you're going through. I don't want to leave you hanging because I don't want you to feel in dire straits that I was no use to you, but I want to be able to help you in the capacity to get you to the next phase. Sometimes we're only there for the beginning, and we have to tag team someone else to finish it off, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's I don't know if it's a fable or the saying that says some plant, some water, and some see what the fruit is going to be.
Sure.
It may not be in that way, but when you plant something, it grows. And in order for it to grow, it has to be watered. And then after it's watered and nurtured and taken care of, you see the end result, which is the fruit of whatever it is. And sometimes we have to really know our role and know what portion of our role are we playing in this individual's life or situation or circumstance. And I think sometimes we want to see it to the end, but we may just be the one to ignite the fire to get them started.
Yeah. I think that's such an important thing to remember. You have thought of just being thoughtful, taking a moment to ask them questions, ask yourself questions can really, really formulate and determine and help you determine how to show up, where to show up, who to ask, and get people in spaces where you're not feeling like a martyr, they're not feeling like a martyr, and everyone's showing up healthy, wanting to be there with the proper amount of energy to give the situation, because you've both been thoughtful about this scenario and how you want to show up in it, and if you have the capacity to.
Yes. And oftentimes, I'll be honest, we've shown up places and you don't get the capacity until you're there walking with them.
Yeah. And that gives you energy.
That gives you energy because you say, oh my gosh, I walked into more than I had anticipated.
Yeah.
But let me get myself together and let me show up because they really do need me.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm not going to help you, but I just have to identify what area do you really need me to help you in?
Yeah.
And then I have to make sure that I have the timing, especially when you have family, small children, young adults. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And that you're not putting your task on hold.
Yeah.
Now you're in a trauma situation and you need somebody to come rescue you.
Exactly. The circle just keeps going.
Yes. So just making sure to be thoughtful about it, right?
Yeah.
And to show compassion. I understand what you're going through, but right now you know, is there something else you can do about it?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
something that has to happen today?
Yeah.
Is it something that you just need to kind of talk out, get it out and then figure out some solutions and some strategies, right?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes you really don't have to show up at a person's place in a
Yeah.
physical. If
Yeah.
you help them talk it out and reach some strategies, give them some tools, they'll be okay and on their way. And if you run into trouble again, feel free to give me a call back. I'll be available for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Absolutely. Oh, I like that. So much good stuff in that. Thank you for that. All right. You addressed this a little bit earlier when you were talking about your own self-care practices, but talk to me about the importance of taking and just kind of revisit. You've really addressed this, but we'll just kind of revisit for a moment. You can add anything you want to this, taking care of our emotional health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health. They're all connected. And if we don't address them all, it's going to show up in some way. You hit on something so important earlier. And especially this has to come up, I'm sure, in the kind of work you do is addressing those unprocessed emotions. When you're working with people one-on-one in sometimes sensitive situations, it can be very emotionally taxing. There's an emotional labor to the kind of work you do. And so being mindful to make sure you address those things, release them, move through them so that they're not continuing to build upon each other, because otherwise you'll run out of gas a lot quicker if you don't take the time to do that. So was there a point where you realized, oh gosh, I got to give more time or energy to this, or this isn't going to work for me? Or were you always kind of aware that this was necessary?
No, it's a learned process. You go through so much where you realize that you already have a weight to carry. And when you go and assist, that person's weight becomes your weight.
Yeah.
And then you go back to your situation and you're like, oh gosh, I feel way down.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes with that process, like you say, to release. For me in prayer, when I've helped someone where it has taken a lot of emotion and a lot of energy, it's always a time for me to just reset by prayer and asking God to refresh me. Refuel me, refill me, and to just allow me not to be bogged down with the weight of the experience that I just had on top of mine, and learning how to emotionally disconnect once you're back in your own space. Because oftentimes we don't do that. We still carry that person's weight. It's not that you're not gonna think about it and you're not gonna worry about them, but you want to be able to leave them in a place and a space that you know that they can make it. Or that they can now get a sense that, okay, it wasn't that bad after all. Or it really is bad, but what's an encouraging thing I can say to them? And a lot of times it's no word you can say. So being who I am, I just ask, is it okay for us to just pray about it right now? Because I don't have the words. I just have intercession with you right now. A lot of times people are going through and they'll say, oh, just pray for me. Well, I stopped saying, okay, I'm going to pray for you. I said, do you have the time right now to pray? Because I don't want to pray on my own, not knowing what you really want God to do in the situation. So just really taking a few moments to do that with people, to give people just a few moments of your time. Because I just remember a friend of mine calling me one day. I had just parked in a car. I think I was picking up some food or something. And they called and they were in need of someone to really, what they needed was me to say, you know what? I hear what you're saying. I said, can we just pray right now? And they said, you don't even know what that did for me. because everyone
Mm.
else that they call, they say, okay, girl, I'll call, I'll pray for you. But never knowing whether that person prayed for you or not is what got me into the mode of saying,
Yeah.
can we just pray now? I oftentimes people say, can you just pray for so and so? I said, well, I have time right now. We just do a quick prayer, quick
Mm-hmm.
5-minute prayer. And
Yeah.
it's really not a whole lot that we have to do. We just ask God to just touch their situation,
Yeah.
give them the peace that they need to encounter what they have to go deal with.
Yeah.
So that is what is really important, is that you leave people in you're not I like to say, I'm not the Holy Spirit that can help give comfort,
Mm-hmm.
but God gives us a discerning spirit to help people be comforted in the midst
Yeah.
of while they're going through.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times when we're going through, the last thing we're thinking about a lot of times is prayer.
Mm-hmm.
But if I meet someone that is a prayer warrior, I know that they can just kind of get me back
Yeah.
and reset me to just get back focused where I need to be.
Yeah.
That's sometimes we just need to be reset as
Mm-hmm.
to what to focus on versus focusing on the actual problem that
Yeah.
really may not be as critical,
Yeah.
the right word, as
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
It may, because sometimes we want to answer right now, but sometimes
Yeah.
it may not call for an answer right now because
Yeah.
we don't have all the answers. But we
Yeah.
do know someone who has all the answers, and
Yeah.
we do know someone that can fix it. And then I love this saying that while I'm worrying about it, I'm getting all my nerves, I'm getting all worked up on it, and I forgot to go to the problem fixer who already was aware that I was going to experience this. Why not just pray and give it to him?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think there's so much power too when you're with someone of just sometimes people just need to be heard and listened to. And there's such a gift in just giving them your ear and going into that, whether it's an intercession through prayer, which is multiple, listening, or just knowing that someone's willing to sit with them in that and do it and listen. It is to me so powerful.
And you can sit there and your presence says it all, right?
Yeah.
But I think I like what you said, and I want to add to what you just said is that oftentimes people have lost their voice. So that is why it is often that it is required of us to just listen.
Yeah.
They don't really want a solution.
Yeah.
They just want to be heard.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it might just be your presence that can help fuel people to get through whatever they're experiencing.
Yeah.
And so that is so important to do as well. I think we often want to go and be the rescuer and the solution person when we really just need to let them just get it all out. Because a lot of times, once they get it out, they already have in their own mind what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we give suggestions and they don't even use them. And we get mad because you didn't use what I said. First of all, they didn't even want to hear what you had to say because they already had a made up mind what they were going to do anyway. So that's wasted energy right there. So that's why it's important to start out with the question.
Yeah.
To ask, like, what is it that you need from me? That's all you need to say. What is it that you need me to do?
Yeah.
You called me. What was it that you were expecting of me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just simple questions like, how can I be of assistance to you?
Yeah. Well, and I think even when you're going through your own processing of those things, you can ask yourself that, like, okay, it's time for me to decompress. What do I need right now? What am I expecting of myself? What am I hoping to get out of this? So those questions work on you too, on yourself too, when you're taking care of your own self.
Yes. But when we're in the trenches of a situation happening, the last thing we're thinking is to pray, to breathe. But if I come along
Yeah.
I can remind you of those things. And even
Absolutely.
if you don't know about that, that's a new tool and a new
Yeah.
concept that you can gain for the next situation. Because it's not just going to be one situation. We have a lifetime of situations that always
Yeah.
are emergencies.
Yeah. Yeah. In the moment, they feel like your hair's, on fire. Yeah.
So if we can call someone that is going to be a little bit more cognizant and more,
Hmm.
don't get into your emotion, but get into, okay, they just need to breathe.
Yeah.
They just need to think this through. They just need to talk this out instead of trying to come and be a fixer. Because I
Yeah.
think, nurturers, that's one of my characteristics. We want
Hmm.
to fix it. And that
Absolutely.
and as we talk about different roles that we play, that is also a good um tool to use in your relationship.
Hmm.
I often talk about it with my husband because as we've taught a Bible study for 7 years and we've gone through so many topics, oftentimes I now need to preference, I just need you to hear me. I don't need you to fix it. Because husbands stuck in that mode of, I got to fix it for her. I don't want her to be hurt. I don't want her to. So when we can just kind of preface to people, like, I just need you to hear me out.
Hmm.
I don't really need you to fix it.
Yeah.
Or I want us to talk about it, and I'm not trying to stir up old thoughts about it. Let's
Yeah.
just try to get amicable and let's remove the emotion behind it, and let's just deal with it from that concept.
Yeah.
So it's so many variances how we have to handle situations that are delicate
Uh-huh. Yes.
and are relational.
Yes.
Because we have a relationship with, and we have a relationship role
Hmm.
in so many capacities with people that are in our circle and outside of our circle. And I
Sure.
can't tell you how many times at the grocery store I hear people's business. They'll just start a conversation, but I listen,
Hmm.
and I'll say, well, sometimes you just can't do it in the open. I'll say, well, what's your name?
Hmm.
And then I'll just, I'll pray for your situation. I'll add you to my prayer list, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes we don't feel that comfortable. So just
Mm.
figuring out
Yeah.
what role do this person need me? They were in the grocery store. They now have somebody that don't know them that can hear them. And it goes
Hmm.
back to that listening capacity. We
Yeah.
often have the capacity to listen and not feel like we have to go and fix it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
now my husband say, you want my help with that or you just want me to listen? So now I'm not yelling at him. Like, I didn't ask you to fix it. I just asked you to just listen to what I have to say.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, good. That's
So
really
we just
good.
have to use we just have to use those tools to
Yeah.
navigate, circumstances because everyone is different. And it doesn't take away that you do, in fact, have an emergency.
Yeah.
And that you do, in fact, your situation, in fact, is an emergency to you. I'm to
Absolutely.
not just come and I'm going to get emotionally attached, but I also have to kind of decipher how do I detach myself emotionally from them so that I
Hmm.
can be of greater help. Because when you start
Yeah.
playing in their emotions, you're really not even, you are
Yeah.
really a disservice because
Yeah.
nothing's getting done. Because now both of you are at the
Yeah.
height of
You don't
the
start.
emotion.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Oh
And
my
you
gosh.
know how
So
we
good.
are,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you know how we are. We can go on, and we haven't had enough yet. We can do it 24 hours,
I know. And get nowhere.
and the problem has never been fixed, or a
Yeah.
solution has not been rendered.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't get that time back. There you are. Oh my gosh. All right. You do this so much in the work you do, but talk to me about when it was that you decided in your life that you wanted to not only show up unapologetically as yourself and but also support others in doing so. Your work really speaks to this: how you support partners, veterans, how you support married couples, what you do in your coaching. At what point in your life did you know this was on a road, because you started out, I mean, in ministry, but then you got certified as a coach, you do public speaking, you do one-on-one, I mean, you do so many things. So it's no wonder you've got a good round of questions to ask people and ways to set boundaries, because you've got to protect that time. But at what point did you decide I not only can be of service to myself and what I've learned in these areas and in my marriage, but and being the wife of a veteran, I can help other people too. Daryl and I can help other people too. When did you guys decide to kind of make that turn?
You know, Darrell and I, we were always that way. Um, and I would say before we got married, he probably was that way in his personal life, in his single life. I was that way in my life. And when we came together, it just kind of blended together. And
You
what we
became a
realized,
force.
yes, we call it a holy hookup.
I love that so much.
Yes, we love to call it a holy hookup. And that was that we took each of our gifts and our talents and we meshed them together. It was to help each other. We both had the passion to want to help people. And because we saw that our marriage was a little different as to how it connected when we were meeting other couples, we really felt like we wanted to help them more. And one of those ways of helping more was that let's just go. We were already ministers, but we needed more. You know, we weren't marriage counselors, but we felt the clients that we were going to serve needed more coaching. They needed more strategies to get through their situations. They needed more tools in their toolkit in their relationship. And so that's what we do. We felt that we were having a successful marriage and we want everyone else that we know around us to have a successful marriage. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have great mentors.
Yeah.
So we started out just being mentors to younger couples that not just younger couples in marriage, those that are engaged, those that are married for some years and they had some hiccups. We became their mentors to kind of help be that sounding board for them. And we are upfront about not taking sides. But being that for them, because a lot of times you don't see eye to eye because no one is giving the other grace, you know, and no one is having the mindset to forgive. But when you come in with some strategies and realize that your situation really requires those two things, we can bring that additive. That's an asset that we can bring, and that's an asset that any couple, if you don't have an older couple, and not so much an older couple in years, but it can be a couple that has wisdom. It can be a couple that has gone through your same situation and they survived it because they went through the process of going through the pain, going through every area of the pain and coming out on the other side. And now they don't look like what they've been through.
Yeah.
But we've experienced the same thing. So now, would you all help us through our situation? So we ask couples to look for a couple in your circle that can be a mentor, you know, or an accountability partner to make sure that you show up like you're supposed to as a wife. You show up like you're supposed to as a husband. Giving them the tools, you know. We come into marriage sometimes with not just unrealistic expectations, but we don't identify some of our roles and our responsibilities, some of our expectations.
We don't communicate those things.
We don't communicate those things, and communications is the biggest thing. And we don't know how to trust going into a relationship.
Yeah.
based on our past. We think we're all good, hunky dory, but sometimes we just need someone to come help coach us through. And that was something that Darrell and I had a heart and a passion for,
Hmm.
to get people to not just be married, but to be good friends,
Yeah.
to be reliable or be loyal, and to um, be that confident for each other, be that
Yeah.
friend, because I
Yeah.
think sometimes we hear couples say, oh, we were friends first, but then it switched when we got married. So now
Mm.
we have to learn, how do we navigate that to just mesh right on in.
Yeah.
And then just to show up for um, allowing people to be who they are, you know,
Yeah.
and working through that. And that's where that unrealistic expectation, I want you to be who you are and not who I want you to be.
Yeah.
Um, that's the shift that we don't see in the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's so, and I think too, you've hit this so well, the importance of communicating expectations and also remembering people aren't mind readers. We so many times just think people should know. Well, couldn't you tell by this or that? No, that's not fair to anybody. That's a setup to fail if you don't take into consideration the fact that no one's a mind reader. I can't read, his mind. He can't read mine, vice versa, and communicate those expectations kindly and honestly and openly. And sometimes, and then it becomes a natural thing. You talked about earlier how Darrell will say to you, "Do you want me to give feedback or do you want me to listen?" You all have communicated expectations enough with each other that it's understood that there's those questions. And I think that's such an important thing to remember when we're talking about that, because again, like so many things, it doesn't come with the handbook. So you do have to come in, and it's so important to have people like you all that are out there sharing tools, sharing, and being, honest and vulnerable and authentic with people, because that's how we support each other through these things. When it comes to supporting um partners of veterans, when was that something that you felt like there's just a need here, and we're going to fill it, or what led to that part of the work that you do?
Yes, Darrell was in the military, and I first experienced it. I want to say I
Mm.
had two ladies that became really good friends of mine when I moved here, and they realized that they knew Darrell, their husbands
Mhm.
knew Darrell, and
Mhm.
they knew that he was coming back home from his du- his TDY
Mhm.
um, with a wife, and
Yes.
so Darrell first of all gave me a book about I want to say what to expect. It's something on the line of what to expect as a military spouse. So that
Mm.
was number one. He gave me the knowledge to find out about what it really is about a military wife,
Yeah.
spouse of support.
Yeah.
And then number two, these two ladies, I think one of Darrell's first trip, we moved here, he had a trip away. These two
Mhm.
ladies invited me to to breakfast, and they were
Mm.
letting me know that they were here for me to
Mm.
navigate being a spouse. One of them had already been in the military, but once they had
Mhm.
children, they got out. So I was
Gotcha.
getting two perspectives.
Yeah.
And so they became my village. They became
Mm.
what we need. And then as I matured and as I've gone on and had many years of, being in the military and being exposed to military spouses,
Mhm.
meeting different military spouses, I realized that I can be of a help, just like those two ladies were to me.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes you need it, especially when your husband has been um, um, on has to go away on a trip, whether it's or for his neck, or um, is assigned to go some away for a while, and you're left here by yourself or with the children, and now your 100% help is gone. So
Yeah.
now you have to kind of look like, how am I going to navigate, because my family isn't here with me? No, I
Sure.
can't really just pop up and come. But what I can do is, the friends that I have made, if
Mm.
I allow them to come and help me,
Yeah.
um, whether it's to give them time away, because when your husband's been away for 2 weeks at a time and you have children, you're pulling your hair out.
Yeah.
It's
You need
nothing
a
for someone.
break.
You're about to lose your mind. You're about to lose your mind. It's
Exactly.
nothing for a friend to say, hey, I know your husband is away. Have you taken time for yourself? How
Mm.
about I come, either if bring the kids to me. They could play with my kids for a couple of hours. Go do something that you haven't done for yourself. Go
Yeah.
run your errands,
Yeah.
go do what you need to do. Or oftentimes, you know, um, having play dates, to
Mm.
give them that adult conversation, because now my spouse isn't there. You need that.
Yeah.
Um, and realizing from the spouse perspective, when he comes back home,
Mm-hmm.
don't say, oh my gosh, whoa, what happened to the house? Say, honey, let me get the kids. You go take a shower, get up, because I've been away. Or, honey, where do you need me to help you the most right now?
Yeah.
You know, how about I pick up the kids' toys, or how about I give the kids a bath and you just go do what you need to do? Just take time out.
Yeah.
So learning that
Yeah.
way to show up for veterans, or not just veterans, but people in the military
Yes.
whose spouses are actively serving, being there for them
Yeah.
so that they won't lose their mind, and that they
Yeah.
can navigate their situation, and that they have help.
Mm-hmm.
I also tell them, find a babysitter. Even,
Mm.
I've had someone come to my house and I didn't really go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You watch the kids so I can come and wash my dishes, or that I can cook dinner, I can
Mm-hmm.
straighten up my house, or vice versa. They came and they helped do whatever they needed to do.
Yeah.
It's and that goes a long way.
Yes, it
That goes a
does.
long way, because you need that support system. I
Yeah.
like to say village.
Yeah, absolutely.
Utilize the village. You know, you gain friends by being friendly. And
Mm.
people, friends, yes, you gotta be selective, but you gotta don't be so quick to say, no, I don't need the help, and you're over here and you're struggling.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
your family can't get to you. We're right here. We're not far. We're next door. We're right here. We want to help you because
Yeah,
we know what it's like. We've been through it. We go through it.
exactly.
Or just like, let's share some responsibilities. Like, how about I take your kids this weekend? You take mine next weekend. Now,
Yeah.
that wasn't always um, a balance either. So
Yeah.
you got to make sure you got it, because I might have one child and they have three.
Yeah, exactly. So be careful you
But
know what you're getting into when you offer that up or agree to that.
if you have the energy capacity to handle three toddlers, three whatever.
Yeah, you might be calling your family to come in for the weekend to help you navigate that.
but don't be afraid to ask. Like,
Yeah.
I just need a couple of hours. I just need a couple of hours
Yeah.
to just to myself, so I can regroup.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter what age of the children. Especially when
Yeah.
they can't take care of themselves. They're not of age to stay at home or to do those things, but they still need supervision. It's okay to call family, friends,
Yeah.
and even new friends that feel like their family,
Absolutely.
which makes it your village.
Yeah.
So just using the resources that you have. There are babysitting organizations that you can screen the babysitter if no one is available in your community.
Yeah.
Um, just utilizing the resources around you,
Yeah.
and just really remembering that you're not in this by yourself. There's
Yeah.
always someone in life that has experienced what you have
Mm-hmm.
experienced,
Yeah.
and they're willing to help. And that's really how Darrell and I operate. We've been
Mm-hmm.
through it
Yeah.
to help people. We that is where it started for us. We
Mm-hmm.
just felt like, what do we have to give to people? What
Yeah.
worked for us? You know, Coaching, marriage counseling. As coaches, we help people get from today and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
We're not afraid to tell them if it's something from your past that is hindering your relationship, then you need to go a little deeper, whether it's a psychotherapist or
Mm-hmm.
marriage counselor who can dig a little deeper to get you where you need to be to show up 100% in your marriage,
Yeah.
100% in your relationship, whatever capacity it is. I think oftentimes there was some stigma about going to get counseling, but I think that has really kind of come out of it a little bit.
Yeah. We're starting to
Um,
move in the right direction on that,
we're
at
moving in
least.
the right direction that we can
Yeah.
get that help. And I think we need to do that. I know I grew up with my parents saying, what happens here stays here. Don't go
Mm-hmm.
share your business. But over time, I've learned that you need to be transparent with people, and just share the truth with people. Marriage is good, but you have to want it. You know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to want it, and you have to be willing to sacrifice and give up yourself. You have to be able to be trustworthy. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. You guys have to have communication to understand what are some of those insecurities that
Mm-hmm.
you have about relationships. To be honest, a lot of people don't have mentors within their own families.
Yeah. They didn't have good examples growing up, so they don't know how to navigate those difficult situations.
And that's what I'm saying. They didn't have great examples growing
Yeah.
up. So you have to go outside of your circle to find. Oftentimes I'm meeting women who they may be the first woman in their family to really have a real spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, their family members have had children by other men, maybe never married them, or they married them and they divorced and they weren't married very long. And now you're about to really get in a good relationship that can thrive and that is going to be healthy. But you want to keep it that way. So now it's
Yeah.
a good thing to go to get coaching. We like to do premarital coaching
Mm.
for couples that are engaged, so
Yeah.
that they'll be able to know what those red flags are.
Yeah.
Everyone that's engaged is not going to get married immediately. There may
Mm-hmm.
be some things we have to say, well, let's put a pause here because we need to work this out. But if you don't get
Yeah.
coaching, you
Yeah.
won't really be honest about the red flags. You'll
Yeah.
just say, oh, they'll get better. Really?
Yeah. Wishing
Not
them
the
away won't
hope.
make them better. Yeah. Yeah. I
Not
love
at
that.
all.
Those are really great tools. And that really goes nicely into really talking about the layered parts of our lives. We all have layers to our lives. It's layers that we love, layers that we don't love. We bring those things into our relationship. So when you get people together to talk about those things and start creating dialogue and opening up doors to places that maybe they wouldn't have known about otherwise, that can be so helpful. And sometimes, even if you have to okay, we need to take a little more time here to unpack this and make sure we have a good foundation before we move forward. So maybe we do wait a little bit longer on the wedding date, but we're going to have some tools here that are going to make us stronger long term. I love that approach.
Yes, it's so important because a lot of times we're so caught up with, oh, we're going to get married, but we
Mm-hmm.
don't think about nurturing the relationship for after the marriage.
Yeah.
We put so much money into the wedding,
I know, and get
and
so
we don't
caught up in the romanticization of that we don't think beyond that.
think beyond that. And what you want to do, you want to think about the whole marriage,
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's enjoy this time. Typically, the concept of marriage doesn't always happen in the sense. There are very few the percent, I don't know what the percentage is. I got to look that up. But what I want to say is most often people are getting married with blended families.
Yeah.
Depending on your age when you're getting married. So now you have to even get some tools on how to navigate a freshly new relationship that's going to be blended ultimately.
Yeah.
And then you have to navigate. We're single now. I mean, we're without kids now. But what's your thought on having children, raising children? What was your background like? What was my background like? Did you like that? Did you not like it? Well, what do we want to build our family foundation on so that it can work? Instead of bringing all of the baggage and the negativity, like, let's sort it all out. Those are some good conversations to have for anyone that's about to get married.
Absolutely.
That's a good start for communication.
It's a great start.
Really
Get those expectations out in the open, because trying to make those decisions on the fly when you're in the thick of it is a lot more difficult when you haven't had that conversation. That's so many times we make assumptions and we don't have the conversation. And again, I know I keep revisiting this, but it's so important we don't lay out the expectations and communicate them. And then we're surprised down the road. But if you look back on it, it was like, well, we never really discussed that. We made assumptions about what we thought, but we never put it out there to come to some common ground on.
Common ground. And really, communication start with allowing each other to freely share their voice.
And be heard.
And also, a lot of times when we're in relationships, we only talk surface talk.
Yeah.
But being married and being in a relationship, you have to get beyond the surface. And those are some tough things. Those are some delicate things. And that's why sometimes it takes a mentor, it takes a coach, it takes a marriage counselor to help you talk about those difficult things, especially in coaching, when we're going through with premarital couples that are engaged and are planning to get married. They realize, they say, oh my gosh, we wouldn't have thought about this on our own. They didn't know the extensiveness, what to talk about in the relationship in preparing for marriage. Why? Because they didn't know. They didn't know what marriage encompasses. And part of it, them not knowing, is that they didn't have great examples. Or they went on what was on TV or what the celebrities are doing. But it's, you really can't compare your relationship to other people's. Your relationship is tailor-made for the two of you. And the two of you are the only ones that need to really make the boundaries, like you say, make the foundation. You can get some information from other people, but you two ultimately have it, because you have to make sure that you're going to agree on it. And it's okay to agree to disagree, but how are we going to get us on the same page? What is it that you've gone through that don't allow you to move past that type of thing? What is it that you've gone through that you don't like to talk about those type of things? But this is necessary. How can we engage in critical conversation versus, just surface talk that never gets to the root of any depth of conversation that is going to be helpful and healthy to nurturing a true relationship?
And unpacking all those layers together and learning how to embrace them, accept them, and talk through them, it it creates trust. And it creates that support for each other and that you need as that foundation. So thank you for that. So good. That's so good. And you without even knowing it, address so many of our talking points in that living out of your own expectations and communicating those well, accepting the layered aspects of yourself and each other as you're communicating those things with each other. So important. Talk to me about the importance of coming back to your why and your values in your work, because again, you are probably, I can imagine, pulled in all different directions. So how does coming back to your why and your values help keep you on the track that's healthy for you, that you feel aligned to and called to? Talk to me about that a little bit.
I think it starts with my prayer. I
Mm,
think it starts with just making sure that I'm seeking God's help
mm,
in doing what I need to get done.
yeah,
But it also calls for Darrell and I to have conversations about shifts in our relationships, or not
sure.
shifts in our relationships, but shifts in our work. Because
Mm,
sometimes we are going, where the shift is happening, and that can be individually and collectively. And
sure.
how can we show up to support one another for that?
Mm,
Um, being able to be each other's cheerleader, you
hmm.
know, being able to recognize a shift. A lot of times we don't recognize that something new is coming
Yeah.
upon on the horizon, or that we need to do a little more in that area. And it's not for, and this is helping others navigate, you know, why we do what we do is because number one, we love God.
Hmm.
We want to serve Him wholeheartedly, right? That's
Hmm.
our works. And two, we realize that what we go through is not just for us.
Mm,
It's not, it's for our children as well, because they'll learn from it, but
sure.
it's from whomever we encounter that need our help. And whether you're single, married, divorced, a widow, a veteran, active duty military, it encompasses everything, because when it all comes down to it, we're human.
Mm,
We experience all some of the same things,
hmm.
maybe differently because of the environment and the aspects of things that surround that situation. But it all comes down to caring for more than just yourself.
Mm,
It talks about, you know, um, we just want to help. We just
yeah.
love, we're both givers,
Hmm.
but we also, number one, we take care of home first. If
Mm,
home's not taken care of, we cannot, you know,
yeah,
go and help anybody else. But
absolutely.
it's all about balancing and putting um, things in order of perspective.
Hmm.
And, but realizing that it's all about balancing, I would
Yeah,
say. I would
yeah.
say you know, when you love people and well, first of all, let me say this. When you love what you do, when you're passionate about what you do,
Yeah.
you're going to make sure that you fix all the things around you and make sure that they're in place to make sure that you're out there.
Yeah.
Um, just that we felt like we were having a healthy marriage, and we felt like it all initiated from our pastor asking us to be leaders for a Bible study.
Mm,
And we didn't realize the help that was so necessary for people on the surface that looked like they got it all together.
yeah.
Um, but it was so enriching and so enlightening to build a relationship and realize that I can be transparent and just come clean. That my stuff is
Mm,
not all that clean, that my
yeah.
relationship ain't all that. Uh,
Yeah.
but then not being looked down upon, but collectively helping each other,
Yes.
learning, because all of us are in so many different phases. Darrell and I, we say that we're older parents, right?
Hmm.
Parent friends of ours they're grandparents right now. We're
Mm-hmm,
still,
mm-hmm.
we're not grandparents yet. And then we
Yeah.
meet people that are empty nesters that have been empty nesters for some years, been married for a long time and just need to know how to keep the flame burning
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
now there's health challenges.
Yeah.
How do we still keep the flame burning? And we're going through some health issues. We're going through some
Mhm.
emotional issues. We're going through some things on our own that we really haven't shared, but now we're going to sit down and be intentional. One thing about us, we're intentional to talk about our day
Mm.
and to show up for each other in our
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Um, and we try to do that with our children as well. Like,
Mhm.
how was your day? But now I've learned to not just say, how is your day? What was the most eventful thing in your day today?
Yeah. Those intentional questions that aren't just yes or
What
no
made it?
questions. Yeah. Or good or
Yeah,
bad. Yeah.
right. It's almost like the question too, what happened unexpectedly today? What was,
Yeah.
you know, how did you feel about your day? How did
Yeah.
you get through that? Oh, wow, that was tough. What did you do to get through that to make sure that now you came home and even if, with the remote working and how
Mhm.
COVID hit and you're feeling like, oh gosh, I'm so clammed up here. Now that
Yeah.
we're back working, for me, my drive time in and from work is pretty much my transition time.
Mm.
You know, I try not to
Yeah.
talk on the phone. I try to just kind of digest the day, think about it, get ready because now I have to reset because now I'm on to my other job and that is being wife and mother,
Yeah.
you
But I
know.
love that. That's a form of self-care. I want to stop there for a minute.
That
I
is.
think that's a very important piece you just shared because so many times when we talk to people about filling their cup and making sure they take care of themselves, they're like, I don't have time. I'm like, look at the time you already have. And how you can use it. And that is a great example. So thank you for sharing that. It is it seems simple, but those things matter. You need that time to decompress and reset so you can show up the way you want to for your people.
Mhm. You have to,
Yeah.
but number one, the first person you show up for is yourself.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then, and that goes back to the cup, like taking care of yourself first.
Yeah.
We do that up in coaching. That's so important, to take care of yourself so that you could be of a help and of a good service to
Yes.
someone, not
Yes.
just serving, but of
Yeah.
a good service to
Yeah.
help.
They're not just
Yeah.
getting the crumbs from you. Oh, so good. And that was
Yeah,
really,
who wants
yeah,
crumbs?
I
We,
know.
we, don't,
No,
want, we don't want crumbs. I want your
no.
whole self, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And we owe that to ourselves and each other. That's beautiful. And that really lays out so beautifully on how you live out F.E.E.L. This is how you live out finding empowerment, embracing layers. This is how you show up well for yourself and others in relationships. So thank you for that. That was so good. All right. We are winded down here. But before we do that, before I give you a chance to share where people can find you and follow you and learn more from you, name 5 activities that nourish
Ooh.
you.
5 activities that nourish me. Wow. 5 activities that nourish me. I'm sorry for repeating that. I'm putting it in
That's
my brain.
okay. No.
I would
Roll it
say,
around.
I would say having a spa day
Mm,
that nurtures me, having a
mhm.
massage. I've now recently found a salt room. You
Mm.
just go in there and you're just breathing soft
Oh.
music and you're breathing the salts to kind of help cleanse it's just
Oh, wow.
lovely.
It sounds
So I'll
wonderful.
just count that as 2.
Okay. Sounds great.
And then Darrell and I have been for some time now intentional about date nights. Date nights
Mm.
nurture my relationship.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes it may be going to a restaurant. We like exercising, so he's joined me on Saturdays when I go do a 5K walk.
Mm.
And then there's times when we just go out and we walk together. And I may have packed a charcuterie board with some refreshing things. And we just open up the trunk of the car, or either we have a blanket, depending on where we are in the location. And we just sit there, we eat and we talk, and we're refreshing ourselves after we're walked, the 5K, after we've walked a long time or whatever we've done.
Yeah.
Um, and I think spending time with my children, when we have family game nights,
Yeah.
And just me time.
Yes.
I say me time because one day Darrell came in a room where I was at, and he was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "Oh, reading." I said, "Nothing." I said, "Don't you remember when our parents? I don't know if you ever had this happen, when you were young and your parents told you to go over there and sit down."
Yeah.
I said, "That's time." I said, "I'm just sitting down. I'm just sitting down, finding some quiet time, finding some useful time to just think or meditate. Using the Calm app for the
Yes,
mindfulness."
that's so good. Yes, I have that too. You mentioned that earlier, of our need to, we live in this world where we think we've got to be moving all the time. Some idle sitting quiet time is invaluable to us. It lets everything just settle and rest without the pressure of having to do or be anything other than just in the moment. And I don't think we talk about the value of that enough. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. That's so good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, no, I hope that was 5.
And it was perfect.
It's so many things that roll right on into the next.
Yeah.
But it's so important because you want to have a clear mind.
Yes.
When you're working on projects, you want to have a clear mind when you're, and you want to be free of anything that is that makes you tired or exhausted. Exhausted. So often we're like, "Oh, I'm tired, I'm exhausted," but we don't take the time to realize, why am I feeling exhausted? Why am I feeling tired? Did I do anything? Was it something that in my day that kind of just took me for a loop, that I didn't realize this was a trigger point that got my mindset to say I'm tired, I'm exhausted? Those are the 2 words that come to mind whenever you ask people, "How are you doing?"
Yeah, it's so
but
true.
We need to take time away from that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months.
I want to feel rejuvenated. I want to feel refreshed, and I guess rejuvenated, refreshed is that word. Inspired, challenged, and I would say joyous, and last one, a personal self-accomplishment, working on projects and just getting one of those tasks done.
Yeah. There's a lot of power to be able to check something off a list. That feels really good. I love that.
So, because I have a list, and I just be able to use that list and check one thing off at a time. It's a little slow process, but getting one thing done. And I think that is really it, because that encompasses my whole life. When I think about my whole life, that's how I kind of, all of those things encompass some aspect of my life that need each of those things to get me fueled to do what I am going to encounter or what I'm going to, whatever some new experiences are going to bring. Those things will help me to
Yeah.
navigate whatever is going to be new. I'm anticipating, I'm believing something new is going to be on the horizon. It is on the horizon for me. So it's going to take all of those things to get me ready for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that mindset. So good. All right. Veronica, let people know where they can find you.
You may find us at Alliance Seminars Coaching. If you just type that in Facebook, and even Alliance Seminars Coaching, or just allianceseminars.org, you will
Okay.
find us in those two places.
Wonderful.
Also, in the link, we're on Speaker Hub. There's a lot of different other places that Alliance Seminars will lead you to our other areas that we're other platforms, and
Okay.
you have those links as well.
Yes, yes. And those will all be on our website, on our resources page. So don't worry, listeners, you're going to have access to all of that. But thank you so much for your time today, Veronica. I've just been I've enjoyed just listening to you. I feel like I've learned so much from you today. I appreciate your wisdom, your humility, your authenticity. Your integrity, it really spills through you. And so I really appreciate all that you've offered us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Melissa. I'm so thankful to be a part of what you're doing here in the Feel in the Feel podcast, embracing those layers, because it takes that in life to be empowered by embracing those layers.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And listeners, don't you worry, go check out these resources, listen to what Veronica and Darrell have had to say, the ways they can help
Mhm.
people. There's such a great example of all the different ways and spaces you can show up for people and take care of yourself within that. You hit that so well today. So be that nurturer, help people out, but ask those questions and make sure your cup is filled before you do it. I think that's something really valuable that we have taken from this conversation today. So we hope that manifests for you. We thank you for listening today, and have a great week.
Hello, Melissa Crook here. Thank you so much for joining us on the F.E.E.L podcast today, Finding Empowerment, Embracing Layers. I hope you found today's framework and resources supportive and informative. To learn more about all that we offer here at the Embracing Layers Network, visit embracinglayers.com. You can go to our contact form to schedule me as a speaker for your next conference, workshop, or seminar. You can go to our book page to order our book that Jessica Garrison, our wonderful and talented writer and author, authored with my support. And engage with this framework in written form, with your journal, or in a book club with other women, inviting them on this journey with you. You can look at our resources page for all of the helpful and insightful resources our guests offer and share. You can find the schedule for our weekly Together We Feel women's panel conversations that we're holding each Monday on our YouTube channel. And you can find the links to all the spaces and places you can follow, engage with us on social media, and join our engagements that are happening on our Substack site. There is also a donation page where you can donate to support our work to ensure we can continue to bring you these incredible guests, conversations, and support. Thanks again for joining me this week. Share with your friends and give us a review on your favorite listening platform. Your feedback helps us ensure we're bringing you the content that will best support you and having an empowered, embracing layers journey. Take good care, and thanks for giving us some of your valuable time today. We truly appreciate you so deeply.